our views,
I'm listening.
right?
I'm just
Okay,
putting us
then
on
the
Facebook
division, our division with the best coaches, right? That's what you wanted to know.
now. Yes, sir.
And then I have make or miss the playoffs. Who's going to make that missed last year, and who's going to miss that made last year?
Yep. So it's like a 1-1. Like you can replace a team with a team, however you want to do it. Yep.
Yeah, you know, I didn't even think about that. Did I? It's pretty balanced, so yeah, that'll work. We have the Open Championship, and I have just an LIV question for you.
Okay.
And some Yankees talk. Maybe you can talk about their most recent trade that I think went down today or was
Last
about
night, I would love to.
I would love to hear that. And 73s. Am I correct on the number? 73?
That's what I got, buddy.
All right, then let's press the button
Let's cook.
and get to this shit. By the way, I did not. Your mic wasn't any different from last week, so I don't know.
I told my buddies I didn't hear it. I didn't hear a difference either.
Okay, so
I had no difference either.
I did think I thought I sensed something as it went on, but I'm looking at it here. I actually have you set pretty high, so
yeah, I got nothing. So that's my apologies.
Might have just been somebody. No, it might have just been somebody. No big deal. What's up, everybody, and welcome to Bump and Run. I'm Pete Colasano, joined as always by my stunningly handsome friend Scott Bracey. What's going on, dude?
Good afternoon, buddy. How are you?
I'm doing well. I have a little announcement for you. I held this out. I didn't tell you about this, so everybody's hearing this for the first time. We had a 15% increase in our last podcast in our listenership. So the amount, which is that's a big deal. Like a 15% increase is huge, which two things about that. Number one, thank you everyone for listening, for sharing, for talking about it, for whatever you do, mainly for listening. We appreciate that.
Thank you.
And number two, all evidence to the contrary, people love listening to Cap Talk. So we'll start today's show.
Or is it because you said there's a handsome fellow on the show?
Oh, could be that.
I don't know.
I'll have to look at the demographic breakdown. There might have been more women listening last week. That might have been what it was. You're right. So there's that. So that was good. That's exciting. I appreciate that. I know Scotty definitely appreciates that. We both do tremendously. We do this for ourselves. We enjoy this. We would do this whether you were listening or not. But obviously, there is some production that goes into it and time that we take. And we really appreciate you guys listening to us and all that stuff. So keep it going. And yes, you can also help us with one thing right here. We are on the verge of crossing 3,000 listeners, which is unbelievable to even think about. So we're right on the cusp. So especially with this particular episode, if you can share it, if you can put it on your social media accounts, whether that be Facebook or whatever else you do, however you can do it, we greatly appreciate it. Push us over that 3,000 number, which is pretty unbelievable after about a year and a half. Pretty cool stuff. So, all right, let's get down to work. Let's get down to what we do here. We wanted to do a breakdown. We're going to start. Listen, football season's right around the corner, right? We're all super excited about that. And if you didn't know, then you should know, because most camps broke this week. Has every team gotten a camp this week?
All 32 NFL teams are in. Next week, all college teams will be in, and we're off and running, baby.
Can't wait. Hey, who's the Hall of Fame game this year? Do you know that one?
I think it's Jacksonville Raiders. Let me hold the phone. I'll get it real quick.
You gonna look on that little mini smart machine you have there?
That's the rumor. Oh, dude! If I listen,
because that's like
people should tune in just because I'm so good at guessing. It's the Jaguars and Raiders in the Hall of Fame game.
How does he do
on
it?
August 4th on NBC?
I mean, your opinions are always wrong, but your stats and your facts are always on point. But I'm here for the opinions. I don't know any stats or facts. I got to look everything up. You know it all. So we got to get, what is that? Probably 10 days away. That game will probably be 10 days away, right? Is it even that long from that?
It's next Thursday. Yeah,
next Thursday. Week away. Jesus, a week away. So those teams will have basically 8, 9, 10 days of practice before. It's crazy, unbelievable, and exciting. Listen, what is it? The last 2 months or so, we've kind of gone every other week because, let's be honest, this time of year, it's a little slow. It's the dog days of summer in baseball. There's no free agency talk. There's no trades. There's no draft. Even with the NBA, the season's over. There's no trades and things going on there right now either. It's a dry time, but now is when we're at our best. We get into the football season, the preseason, and then once the season starts, we're at our best. You guys have definitely shown us that last season, so we're excited. AFC East preview. Let's start with I'm going to start with the New York Jets because that's what I want to do. And listen, the reality is, they made some great moves in the offseason. I don't think there was any move that they made. Some of the moves were even underrated, like picking up a cornerback like DJ Reed, who, kind of flies under the radar, but he is a top 10, probably a top 10 corner in the league that nobody really knows about. I don't think there's a move that they made that anybody even like mildly critiqued. And then you go to the draft and you say, there really wasn't any picks that were mildly critiqued in the draft. Like most draft nicks gave them an A or B plus. I don't know how it even becomes a B plus when you consider what they got in the first round and then Breece Hall.
The first 40 picks or whatever, right?
It's incredible, picks, right? And yet we still have question marks, and most of those question marks come down to Zach Wilson. And we can talk about the Jets until we're blue in the face with all the things they've done and the new coaching.
And I have a feeling at some point we will.
We probably will. But the reality is this season and seasons moving forward will come down to the effectiveness of their quarterback, Zach Wilson. He was their number 2 overall pick last year. He is their starter. They are invested in him. He has showed glimpses of greatness. He has also shown glimpses of average and poor. To be honest with you, I don't know. Especially the beginning of the year last year, it was kind of ugly. It looked like he was trying to do too much, especially for a rookie. But I also know, unlike most rookies, the Jets coaching staff threw the entire playbook at him. Usually coaching staffs try to ease a guy in. Jets didn't, especially a rookie. Jets didn't do that last year. Unusual. Does it work? I have no idea. We'll find out, right? We'll find out how comfortable Zach Wilson looks. And if he's more comfortable with the playbook and the coaching staff, then we can say, yeah, sure, that worked because he's able to take those steps. But that's what it will come down to for the Jets.
Well, before I add some stuff to you there, let me introduce the division for you. The AFC East, they will play the AFC North and the NFC North this year. Last year's standings, Bills in first, Patriots in second, both playoff teams, right. Dolphins in third, and your Jets in fourth. A couple things to add on to your free agency besides DJ Reed. I think there's a couple sleepers here. Laken Tomlinson at guard is huge, underrated. Yeah. No one likes to talk linemen. Just as much people like to talk cap. We like linemen. Tight end CJ Uzama is also a huge thing for a young tight end. And safety Jordan Whitehead.
Huge. Championship pedigree, right? Still young. Physical. Huge.
Played under good DC with Todd Bowles in Tampa Bay. Comes on and plays with another one with Robert Saleh as head coach. You mentioned their draft. I looking at their draft again when I was doing some research for this show. I can't believe that they got the guys they got. I really cannot believe they – listen.
What did we – think about the names that we talked about for the Jets before the draft, thinking maybe they get one or two of them. They ended up with like at least in the first round, all three of them, and then Breece Hall makes like four.
And then you're a fan of the tight end they got in the third round. I don't know much about him
from Ohio State. Yeah, I don't know if he even makes the team. I think
that's a product of having Ohio State's best receivers, of him not getting as many passes as he should have gotten.
Absolutely, that's not their style. Yeah.
Looking at their schedule, a little brutal start. The schedule makers were not kind to them. Weeks 1 to 4, they play the whole AFC North.
Correct.
So you can argue they get that out of the way, and if you could somehow get out of there 2-2, bro, I think that's a huge win.
I think that's really possible. Listen, the Browns are with Jacoby Brissett, and the Steelers have Mitch Trubisky or a rookie. So, those two teams alone, you should at least feel like you're on level footing with them at the very least. Like, those are two. And let's be honest, Baltimore didn't make the playoffs last year. They didn't look great. They're thin at a lot of positions. I mean, sure, the Cincinnati Bengals went to the Super Bowl, but guess who the Jets actually beat last year?
Yep.
The Cincinnati Bengals. So
knocked me out of my damn suicide pool.
There you go. And I apologize a little. Not really. I take that back. So, yeah, I agree. I understand that we talked about this a few months back when the schedules came out. I get it. It's a tough schedule. Tough shit. It's the NFL. I mean, I have no sympathy. As a Jets fan, and I'm a defender all the time, this is one where I just don't. I have no sympathy. It's the NFL, dude. Go out and play. Go out and win games.
Week 6 through 9, a little bit of another tough stretch. At Green Bay, at Denver, New England home and Buffalo home. That's a tough stretch. And then it kind of gets a little eased up after that. I don't have them all memorized. But I know they got the Jaguars. They got, I think, the Texans. I think they got the Seahawks. I think they got someone. Yeah, it's like another random team in the NFC. Because they play that one crossover team now for the 17th game. I think it's like it's not a good team because it's whoever finished fourth in another division is how they match it.
Correct.
So, listen, man. With the draft, with Joe Douglas, I believe, and I think you believe too, and I think our buddy Mike Cohen also will believe, they got the right guys. We don't know how it works out. Maybe, injuries and whatever happens. You can't argue with their picks right now.
I totally agree. I totally agree. Now, what I will say, and then we got to move on to these other teams. Listen, Jermaine Johnson.
I'm giving you a little bit of a little longer here.
Jermaine Johnson, rookie. Wilson out of Ohio State, the receiver, rookie.
Garrett, yep.
Sauce Gardner, rookie. Breece Hall, rookie. Mekhi Becton coming off an injury, missed almost the entire season. Laken Tomlinson, he should be fine, but it's his first year here. Not really in the system.
I'm not worried about him at all.
I'm just saying, be careful. If you get one of your rookies to have a breakout season, it's a big deal. We're trying to not you and I, but people are trying to make it all these guys are going to slow down. They're friggin' rookies. They're great picks. We don't know what they're going to be like. And please don't expect them to be all pro players their first year, for Christ's sake. Give me a break. So put the brakes on that. But there was a question on what is it? Get Up this morning that Greeny had asked, or maybe it was yesterday. I don't know. And he asked, have the Jets finally got it right? And while, yes, there are questions with Zach Wilson.
You can't answer that yet.
I can say, I'm watching what's going on, and from an administrative perspective, yes, they're getting it right. That doesn't mean everything works out.
They're on the right path, for sure.
Yeah, Belichick makes bad picks. They make bad signings. These things happen. You sign a guy, and who knows, maybe Laken Tomlinson suddenly goes on a spree of getting injured all the time. You just never know. But on paper, those things were the right move, So we'll leave it at that with the Jets. How about the Patriots? What are you thinking there?
Quiet off season. Only the two main free agents that I found are Malcolm Butler, who was there, obviously Super Bowl hero once upon a time, came back for 2 years, and Ty Montgomery, who's kind of a fantasy flex. Yeah, running back, wide receiver type of player who's a tough guy. You can put him in a lot of spots, which is a great guy to have on your team. But I don't think New England's one of those teams.
Yeah, he's not a needle mover. Yeah.
Their schedule also week 2 to 4 at Pittsburgh, Baltimore, and at Green Bay. They really gave you your division, the NFC North, right out of the gate, which is interesting. Week 13 through 16 also tough. Buffalo at Arizona. I don't know what they're going to look like, but that's a tough trip when it's late in the year. Yeah, and then at Vegas, back-to-back roadies. Maybe they stay out there. Who knows? And then Cincinnati to close the year, or almost close the year out. You're hearing a lot of stuff out of – Belichick has not stopped talking about Mac Jones since camp has opened.
I know.
And Tom Brady, Tom Brady 20 years, he hasn't said this much stuff about him.
Dude, you took the words right out of my mouth. I was just going to say, it's starting to be what's going on here? Because for 20 years, he basically never said much about Tom Brady.
Him and Nick Saban, aren't they getting a little mouthy as they're getting older here, the two of them?
They're getting a little Trumpy. They're getting a little I'm going to talk, man. I'm going to say whatever the hell I want to say. And they both are. All three of them are in their 70s. So maybe that's the new way of the 70s. I don't know. Wow. I'm with you, man. I have some questions about the Patriots. I truly believe that Mac Jones may have a very low ceiling. I think he had a really good rookie year, but I look and I say, what weapons do they have still? We talk about, they never drive the ball down the field. Why would they? Who's getting those passes down the field, and who's throwing it? I just don't see it. So I think little by little we're starting to see that. I'm not going to put it all on Tom Brady, those 20 years and 6 championships. I'm not putting it all on Tom Brady. But the combination of the two of them, it's not one or the other. It was them that made it very special. And you know what? While Tom Brady, sure, he won a championship in a very strange COVID year with Tampa Bay. Last year he didn't, and who knows what will happen this year. Belichick's still a great coach, but he's not perfect. And guess what? You needed great players around you to be considered one of the greatest, if not the greatest coach of all time. And I think little by little, we're starting to see maybe he's not as perfect. Maybe he made up for some flaws and Tom Brady made up for some flaws. And between the two of them, they were great.
Fair.
But without Tom Brady there, I don't know. I look and I say, we're talking about Zach Wilson and how unproven he is. And I say, would you take Mac Jones over Zach Wilson? And my answer is immediately no.
I would agree with you on that.
Yeah, because I'm not looking. I always look at it in terms of can you get me to a Super Bowl? And I don't know that Mac Jones is a Super Bowl winning quarterback.
Well, at least what we've seen so far. I mean, people change. Who knows?
Correct. Yeah, but, yeah. I think there are qualities that have to be there that I just don't know.
I also think
winning quarterback.
I also think the Jets have more weapons than Mac Jones has as well, which helps.
I think they do. I think they do for sure. Yeah, for sure, big time more. That's what's so interesting, right? And that's why it's funny that it ends up coming down to these quarterbacks. So we'll see with that, but it's been an uneventful off season, and now they're not even naming coordinators. Again, does that really matter? I don't know.
Did I hear something where Matt Patricia might be on the offensive side of the ball?
I think he is. I think Joe Judge is the quarterback's coach. It's just a weird. He was a special teams coach, so there's a whole weird dynamic thing going on. Plus, what's his name is not even there anymore.
Josh
McDaniel, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, he's not there anymore. So, is some of that creative offensive magic play calling thing, is that gone? I think that matters. You don't have the quarterback coach stepping in. We talked about Mike LaFleur for the Jets. Well, he worked under his brother. He worked under Shanahan. You're looking at a guy and you're saying, well, you look at who he learned from and you hope Matt Patricia was a defensive coordinator and the head coach of the Detroit Lions and bad at that. And now he's calling plays. So, yeah, it's a weird thing they got going on there. So we'll see. I mean, listen, you're probably not wise betting against Bill Belichick, but you got to show me. You got to put some players on the field, man. And I don't know. I'm sure they'll still be really good defensively, but we shall see. How about the Miami Dolphins?
Miami Dolphins.
A lot of moves this offseason.
Huge trade for Tyreek Hill. They picked up running back Sonny Michel from the Rams, who had a cup of coffee with them last year. Yeah. Defensive end Melvin Ingram, who was pretty good with the Steelers for a little bit and then with the Chiefs. New coach Mike McDaniel, supposedly a genius. Another guy under the Shanahan coaching tree.
Kind of nerdy.
I got to tell you, the more you listen to this guy, the more I like him.
Yeah.
Tua scares the shit out of me, which I'm sure he does for you as well.
For sure.
Weeks 13 to 17, brutal schedule. At
Which
Niners.
is the end of the season, yeah.
At Chargers. At Bills in a row. Then Green Bay and at New England. That's a brutal close, my friend.
That's a tough one. I got a feeling that New England game right at the end of the season might be for a playoff spot. There's a chance for that.
I think you might be right.
There's a good chance of that. Yeah, I'm with you all the way. They seem to have some nice weapons now. They've made moves. I always say with caution, be careful about the whole Tyreek Hill thing because Tua is not Patrick Mahomes. And McDaniel, regardless, is not oh my God, who's the head coach of the Chiefs?
Andy Reid.
And he's not Andy Reid. So just be careful. When we say, he did this, so now he'll do this. Doesn't always work like that. It's one thing to put the entire weight of the offense on Patrick Mahomes' back. It's another thing to put it on Tua's back. We'll see. I have my doubts. And then it becomes an interesting thing that we will end up having a discussion with next offseason, depending on how this goes, is, do I stay or do I go? Do they keep Tua at moving forward? Let's say they go 500 or one game over 500 and just miss the playoffs again. Do you keep them? Do you move on from them? I don't know. That debate will begin, and I get a feeling it's going to begin. So I get a feeling we're going to be talking about that next offseason. So, that's what I'm thinking. I'm not so sure about the head coach. To me, NFL head coaches have to be great leaders, and I don't know that I see that in this dude. Maybe it's there. I have no idea. He doesn't seem to have that alpha personality to me. And if you're not an alpha as a head coach, I'm sorry. You're going to fail.
Can I compare him to somebody?
Yeah, absolutely.
Nick Sirianni.
Yeah, I can see that. Although to me, even Sirianni has a little bit more personality, has a little bit more, giddy up in his step. But they do seem very similar. We shall see. Okay. It seems like the head coaching position in the NFL is getting a little bit away from the Bill Parcells model and a little bit more towards the McVay model. But let's be honest, McVay is an alpha. Shanahan is an alpha. Like, these guys are still alphas. They're not, they're not taking a backseat to anybody. McVay has more energy than anybody on the fucking field. Like, he's the Tyreek Hill of coaches. Like, he's constantly moving. So we shall see. I don't know that I see that in this guy, but we'll see. They certainly have built up some talent there. They spent some money, made some trades, moved some capital, bringing in Tyreek Hill and some other things. So we shall see. Last but not least, Buffalo Bills.
Week 1, opening night at the Super Bowl champion Los Angeles Rams. Weeks 4 to 8.
To start the season.
Oh, what a game. Weeks 4 to 8. At Ravens, Steelers home, at Chiefs, Packers home. Other than that, pretty good path for them to repeat as division champs, I would think.
I would think so.
Draft not too exciting. They did get James Cook out of Georgia, brother of Dalvin Cook. Their running game's been a little weird over the years. Maybe James Cook could kind of maybe plug that a little bit.
Maybe.
Big couple free agent moves. My boy Von Miller goes from subbing in basically for the Rams to help win the Super Bowl to the Buffalo Bills. Guard Roger Saffold, very good player, underrated move. Tight end O.J. Howard, who was highly touted out of high school, a 5-star guy to Alabama, was kind of lost a little bit in Tampa Bay, especially when Gronk came on board, but all the skills are there. And defensive end Shaq Lawson, another good move to him and Von Miller on the same side. That'll cause some trouble. And one move I know that you hate, and you're going to miss, wide receiver Jamison Crowder.
They picked him up?
Yeah.
He's actually underrated. I think he's actually a pretty good receiver. He doesn't fit with the Jets anymore. It just is what it is.
Barry also placed him pretty well, so I think that's
and some other pieces as well. So and that makes sense to me because they have some nice receivers. Interestingly, they either let Beasley go, haven't signed him. Maybe they're thinking about it, but.
Well, I think Crowder might be better than Beasley, and I think that kid Gabriel Davis really showed out in the playoff game.
Oh my goodness, for sure! If he continues to take steps forward, then that's a really deadly wide receiver set that they have there. My goodness, in the end, this comes down to Josh Allen.
That gives you an idea for next week.
Yeah, for sure. I have one small concern about the Bills, and that is that the effect that loss to end their season last year has on them moving forward. Let's be honest. We're all like psychological animals here. We have our weaknesses and our flaws. And there are just things sometimes that happen in our lives that just stick in our craw and we have a hard time moving past it, right? I want, how it always seems like the team who loses the Super Bowl, isn't that like the stat, like the team that loses the Super Bowl misses the playoffs the next year?
Yeah, usually.
Like not
always the case, but yeah.
Not always, but it's often the case. And I think it's just because of the devastation, right? Like you're devastated, you stew over it for however many months in the off season, and then you get back to work. But it's like that piece of meat that's stuck in between your teeth that you can't get out there and you can't just let it go. It just won't let go. I don't know. We will see. But I just wonder if that game and the way it went down and the way that they basically didn't even show up in overtime, I just wonder if that has an effect on the Bills. Listen, they're loaded. Josh Allen is arguably the best quarterback in the league, certainly one of the top 3 or 4 in the league. They're loaded, and they're good, and they're well coached, and frankly, playing up in Buffalo is a huge advantage as the season goes on. I just wonder. I just want to see. Now, imagine there is a little residual of that, and then they lose that first game of the season to the Rams, and you start 0-1, and it's like, I'm telling you, people are weird, man. People are weird. And like that kind of mentality can be a little bit of a virus and it could work its way through a locker room and it could just cause some problems. They're really good, though. They are really good. And they're not old.
Von Miller is never going to let them get complacent. That's for sure. New offensive coordinator is probably hungry. It wasn't his offense last year.
That's another concern that I have, too. That is
it's a concern, and it's kind of, I got something to prove as well here.
Listen, I think everybody goes into a job thinking that, but doing it is a whole nother thing. He's never been who's the offense coordinator now?
I think it's Ken Dorsey.
Yeah, he's never been an offense coordinator before. And, there are pressures that come with that. And when you mess up, then the media gets on you, and he's never had to deal with that part of it either. So, you're filling big shoes. You're filling really big shoes there. So we'll see. I expect them to be good. We're going to go over like the order that we think these teams finish in now.
I was just going to ask you that. Yep.
Yeah, I still think Buffalo finishes first in their division. They're 17 games, so I could see them going 13-4 or something like that. I'd expect nothing less than that. Let's be honest, there were a couple games last year where there were some hiccups, where Josh Allen played a little weird, made some Wentzian type plays here and there, and cost them games. But they're certainly the class of this division. They have the second most experienced head coach, the most experienced quarterback, the best quarterback. They have a team that has gone deep in the playoffs multiple times, which on the other side of the psychological spectrum makes them very hungry. I'm sure there are guys in that team that are chomping at the bit, like a Stephon Diggs and a Josh Allen. A guy like Stephon Diggs knows that these opportunities don't come all the time. And you have to do whatever you can to get over the hump and win that Super Bowl, because it's just not always going to be there for you. So there's that side of it too. There's not just hey, it ended weird, they're going to fall apart. There's certainly a side of it that says they're hungry as shit because they know it's not always going to be available. So I have them in first. I have the Miami Dolphins finishing second this year. I don't know what that means, and I'll explain that as I tell you the next two teams. I don't know where they finish. Maybe it's 9-8. Maybe it's 10-7. Maybe it's 7-10. Maybe it's 8-9. Somewhere in that range. I don't have faith into it yet. I'm just not there. And I think in the end, it's quarterback-driven league, and you have to have an elite quarterback to win a lot of football games. So I just don't know. My third place team, this may come as a surprise, and that is the New York Jets. I expect them to take a significant leap forward, which from a 4-win team would be 7, 8, 9 wins. I would expect that. And frankly, we've talked about this previously. Considering how the season ended last year, they were competitive and they should have beat Tampa Bay. They beat Tennessee. They beat Cincinnati. They were competitive at the end of last year. And Zach Wilson did improve. He was 6 touchdowns, 1 interception in the last, 4 games. That should continue. And if they were to win less than 7 games, I would consider it a disappointment. I would be if they go 7-10, I'll be okay. 8, 9 wins, and I'm they're on track. 7 wins, I'm okay. Less than that, somebody's going to be on a hot seat next year. Probably Robert Saleh. Let's put it that way. Less than 7 wins, Robert Saleh is on a hot seat next year. I don't care what the beginning schedule is. And that leaves me with the New England Patriots to finish in last place. I just don't know what they're doing. I don't have to know, but when I look at a team and what they're trying to build, I'd like to know. I kind of know what I'm talking about with football, and I have no idea what they're we talk about the Jets, we talk about Buffalo, you talk about Miami. There's this vision that you can clearly see of what they're trying to do moving forward. I have no fucking clue what New England is trying to do. It looks like they're taking steps back. They're not hiring, they're not calling guys coordinate. I don't know. It's like they're trying to reinvent the wheel, and they're going to try to be smarter than everybody else in the building, and that doesn't always work out. Sometimes it does, doesn't always. So I actually think they might be like a 6-11 team and finish last in the division.
I got the Bills first place. I think you kind of said everything there. The obvious, most talented division, best quarterback, and
clearly.
I got the Dolphins in second place as well. Mainly because I don't like the other two teams yet.
Yeah, I agree.
Yet.
Where do you think they finish? What kind of record do you think they finish with?
Miami?
Yeah.
Well, I don't want to give too much away because we have a segment coming up later. So I'll give you some of that later, a little bit later on. Please stay tuned. Third place, I have the New England Patriots. I also think, man, it's hard for me to think Bill Belichick's going to go 6-11 with the New England Patriots. But
they won 9 games last year?
Yeah, made the playoffs. I do kind of think it's possible though. But Belichick will probably pull something out of his ass and shock us a little bit. Maybe if they're 8-9, maybe 8-9.
I think you and I both have the Jets being better and Miami being better. So if two teams get better, somebody's got to get worse. Yeah. So I don't think it's going to be Buffalo.
Yeah,
I think even if Buffalo,
listen, if the Dolphins, Patriots, and Jets all split with each other, they're not. It's like treading water. It's just kind of like.
Yep.
And I got the Jets fourth, but this is not a dig fourth place Jets.
No, I got you.
I've been and I love busting your chops on this, but I've been slowly, not slowly. I've been on the Joe Douglas train for a while.
Yeah.
Salah, we are still out on Salah. Wilson, obviously, it's a lot on his shoulders.
Everything.
But if he's banging moms, throwing bombs, man, let's go. I'm on board. But no, I definitely what they go 4 and 13 last year. Yeah, I think 7 wins is got to be. It's got to be 7. I think 7's probably a number that you got to hit. Yeah,
I think 7. You're okay. 6 wins, and you're like, that's a disappointment. It just is. You can't make all these moves. You can't constantly be like, they're doing the right things. They're doing the right things, but it doesn't equate to wins. At some point, the right things has to equate to wins. Now, if it's all just Zach Wilson, that's one thing. But let's be honest, they had the 32nd ranked defense in the league last year too. It wasn't just a bad offense; they had a bad defense. So there's a lot of room for improvement all over the damn place. So, but if they do, someone has to take a hit, and I just think that'd probably be the Patriots.
Yeah, I understand where you're coming from with that.
So you have Buffalo, Miami, Patriots, then Jets.
I do.
You have the 3 of them kind of swimming around.
I do think the Dolphins will be over 500. The other 2, I don't think so.
Yeah, I'm kind of with you on that. Yeah, I'm kind of with you on that. Hey, let's hit the NFC East. What do we got there?
NFC East, they play the NFC North and the AFC South. I will start with the Philadelphia Eagles, close to your neck of the woods down there.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, a big trade on draft night. They got wide receiver A.J. Brown from the Tennessee Titans, which I think is a huge addition to go along with Devontae Smith, Jalen Hurts, and Dallas Goedert and Miles Sanders. They get that down. That's kind of a full monster now, if you will.
Yeah, they got some weapons.
They
had one of the best offensive lines in the league last year already. They had a good running game.
They added linebacker Hassan Reddick, good player. Wide receiver Zach Pascal, who had a couple years in the Colts, good fourth guy, catch a lot of balls, plays a lot. They drafted monster defensive tackle Jordan Davis out of Georgia, who we were fans of.
Yes,
very athletic, very big fellow, and very athletic. And that'll plug up. That defensive line will just be better with that guy in the middle.
Which is where they needed some help. They were getting a little long in the tooth on that defensive line. So
absolutely.
That helps
Brandon Graham comes back from injury, but he's been around a long time. And linebacker Nakobe Dean, who I loved. I thought the Broncos would try to snag him at some point as he kept hanging around in the draft. There was rumors of him having some shoulder surgery down the line or something like that. I don't know if that happened.
Why does everybody slip on the wording when they say shoulder surgery? It's just, I do it all. Shoulder surgery. It's like, it messes me up.
It's like the Red River rivalry. You got to slow it down to a full.
It's difficult to say that.
Schedule-wise, not too much here either, man. I think it's a weak division. I'm not going to lie to you. I think it's weak. I don't even think if we have Philly or Dallas 1-2, I'm sure we do. Even they're not superpowers. I think they're the worst division winner in the conference. Weeks 11 to 13 at Indy, Green Bay, Tennessee. And that's really all I see in a row there that could possibly
right. Tough runs, yeah. And think about this. We talked about this in the last episode about how they're $52 million in dead money. So what that means is that was how much better. Like, we're looking at them and we're like, you just mentioned a lot of really nice players.
Yeah.
How many more players, like quality players, could you have if you had $52 million more dollars, or even half of that? If you had $25 million more dollars, you could get 3 good players for that. So it's amazing that they're even going to be as competitive as they are. We shall see what Jalen Hurts. We don't know how much belief they have in him, but that's their guy right now, and they're going to run with him. Listen, he's big, he's strong, he's tough, he's a friggin' baller. He's an absolute gamer, man. There's no letting up or anything like that. And Jalen Hurts, he's a really easy guy to root for. Okay, I just don't know if there's enough talent there. But I think there's enough talent there for them to win a lot of games.
Yep.
I'm with you. Everything you said is kind of like where they're at. I just don't know if they're championship worthy yet. But I tell you what, I think we liked a lot of what we saw with Nick Sirianni and some of the adjustments him and his coaching staff made in season,
Absolutely.
which don't always see in veteran coaches. Never mind, rookie coaches.
Exactly. Well said.
So I like that a lot. And it sure seems to me like the player, at least from reports I'm hearing down here all season last year and in the offseason, is that the players really do like him, which is friggin' huge. It's just it's huge. Okay. So yeah, I'm thinking, sometimes you see like stock up, stock down. I'm thinking green arrow pointing up for the Eagles. I don't know how good they're going to be this year, just because I think because of that dead cap money, they're going to be a little on the thin side because you just can't afford too many great players. But I think they're definitely a stock up type team for sure. For sure.
I should have done this as I opened. I apologize. Last year's standings, Cowboys 1, Eagles 2, both playoff teams. Commanders 3 hung around. They had some injuries, not great quarterback play, but they hung around. And the Giants were just absolutely a forest fire at the end of the year.
Team.
Last place, I think they had two picks in the top 10.
Top 10. Yeah.
So another team we'll go to the Dallas Cowboys. They open up with Tampa Bay and the Cincinnati Bengals at home, which is a nice way to open up a year. You don't got to travel. You can try to get your shit straight. 2 playoff teams, obviously one Super Bowl runner-up. Week 5 and 6 at Rams, at Eagles. Long trip for them both ways. It's kind of like right in the middle of the country, and they go their opposite way there. Amari Cooper traded to the Browns. I know they like their receivers. They signed James Washington from Pittsburgh, another guy maybe to replace him. He's always hurt.
Yeah,
it seems like he's played half the year, a lot of the time. Randy Gregory left to go to my Denver Broncos, which was nice. If he stays off the weed, but now weed's legal everywhere, and he's in Denver. I don't know, but we'll see. I think that's a huge loss.
I wouldn't count
for the
on
Cowboys because that's they have trouble getting to the pass rusher, and they have to put Micah Parsons down there half the time,
Correct.
And then it screws up their linebacker situation. So a lot of moving parts you don't want to see on a defense like that.
Yeah.
Not a thrilling draft. They went offensive line kind of heavy, which they kind of needed, and there's nothing wrong with that if you need it.
Right.
I think
they're also getting a little long in the tooth up front, so that was the reason why they did that.
And they did add another guy, defensive end Dante Fowler, which obviously can help replace Randy Gregory. So.
Sure. Yeah, what you're starting to see are the effects of a $40-45 million Dak Prescott salary, right? His contract where he's averaging, I don't know, anywhere from $40 to $50 million a year. You're starting to see the effects of that because Amari Cooper, $18 to $20 million receiver, can't keep him anymore. Gregory can't pay him, or he got more money and more weed by going to Denver. Like, you're starting to see the effects. And what I have been preaching for 2 years since that contract was, or frankly, before they signed that contract, was be very careful, because when you give a guy that kind of money, his job then becomes to be Aaron Rodgers. Your job is to you carry the team. You don't get to say, well, he needs his weapons. Nope. You make guys weapons. You have to be Drew Brees. You have to be Tom Brady. You have to be these guys Josh Allen, who make guys better, who make a Devontae Adams, who was a second-round pick. You make him the best receiver in the league.
You make him an all-pro, exactly.
So now they're a little thinner at wide receiver, and you got Ezekiel Elliott getting old, and the offensive line is getting old, and they're a little thinner on defense. Well, this is because you're paying one guy, 15% of your salary cap. Which is fine if he's going to carry your team. We're going to find out this year, and this is kind of the moment that we've been waiting for, that I've been talking about, that we're going to find out, is Dak Prescott really a top 10 quarterback? Because to me, to be like a top 8, top 10 quarterback, you carry a team. We could say what we want about Derek Carr not being like one of the best quarterbacks in the league. Think of what he's done for the last few years without anywhere near the talent that Dak Prescott has had, without anywhere near the offensive line that Dak Prescott has. Well, now Dak Prescott's going to have to do that with less. And it's not nothing. CeeDee Lamb is really good. There's talent there for sure, but it's less. So we'll see. Now, like you said, it's a shit division. So, I think did they go undefeated in the division last year? And that was like 80% of their wins. So I think they were 6-0 in the division.
I think they might have. Yeah, I think they might have.
I don't think that's going to happen again this year. So we'll see, but I'm very interested to see if Dak Prescott is the quarterback that everybody says he is, that he's a franchise quarterback worth the money. Can't let him go. Can't be without him. Okay. Now he has to carry a team. You're going to have to show me that now. So we shall see.
Washington Commanders. They traded for Carson Wentz. They also drafted North Carolina quarterback Sam Howell. They drafted wide receiver Jahan Dotson from Penn State in the first round. Very good player, but not exactly a 6'3" monster kind of receiver, but a very good small receiver. And running back Brian Robinson from Alabama, who I like a lot. I think that could be a steal. They got him in a fourth down. I like him a lot. He's a very physical runner in a physical division, cold weather kind of type of city. Bad stretch of the schedule right in the middle of the year, weeks 5 to 10. Titans home at Bears, which isn't horrible, but it's a primetime game. You know, Bears use Soldier Field. They'll be rowdy for that one. Green Bay at home, at Indy, Minnesota, and then at Philly. Rivalry game there right in the middle of the year. I don't think they're going to have a great year. You know, Jack Del Rio already went off-season news saying something right with the Capitol building and them having to make a suspension and a fine early on. Not something you really want when it's a quiet off-season. Keep it that way, dude.
Yes. What Carson Wentz are we going to get? Can somebody answer that? I mean, I don't think anybody can really answer that, right? It's a weak division. Does that mean he can perform better? He's been in this division before, so maybe there's some familiarity there. One thing I will tell you I would expect their defense to be – you remember last year we thought that defense was going to be really, really special.
We did.
And at least for the first half of the season, we were like, what the hell? Like, this is not the same defense that ended the season the year before, putting a lot of pressure on Tom Brady in the playoffs, that previous playoffs. They were not great, and they did improve as the season went on, and I would expect them to continue that. Listen, Ron Rivera is a defensive guy. He knows how to motivate guys. Guys play hard for him. So I would expect that defense to be improved. In fact, I would suspect that defense will be the best defense in the division. But I said that last year, and that certainly didn't happen. So we shall see about that. But yeah, it's, they picked up some nice weapons. They did some nice things. I don't think the Del Rio thing is going to have any effect once we get down to brass tacks.
I don't need it. No,
but it wasn't helpful. It certainly wasn't helpful.
It's kind of like that old saying, "Let sleeping dogs lie," dude. Like, dude,
it was unnecessary. It was unnecessary. Even if you feel that way, which is fine. Because I actually don't necessarily disagree with the point he was making. Like, if we're going to have an investigation into this, then we should also have an investigation into this. I just don't know that you want to do that during your off-season press conference in the NFL. Like, if you're running for office, maybe that's a good thing to talk about. Or if you have a useless podcast, maybe that's a good thing to talk about. But if you're
not ours.
No, I certainly wasn't talking about ours. I was talking about what's his name for the Warriors?
Draymond Green.
Draymond Green. Yeah, so that's a useless podcast. Jesus Christ, talk about nothing. Anyway, that's where I'm at with them. Listen, I have been somewhat of a defender of Carson Wentz over the past couple of years, and
that's starting to fade, I think.
Yeah, fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice, shame on me.
Yep.
I'm not going down that rabbit hole again. I will root for him. I think there's a lot of physical talent, tools there, or whatever you want to call it. I think that stuff is all there. I don't know if it's there mentally anymore. I think sometimes, as we've talked, this has become the Dr. Phil episode. We're talking also human psychology here, but I think sometimes you fall down that path and it's hard to get it back. I just really do. So I'm not sure what we're going to get there. So I'm not making any predictions on Wentz. There is talent there for sure. So we'll see.
And we will close our day of the AFC and NFC East with the New York Football Giants. You asked me a couple weeks ago about one of my intriguing teams going into the year, and I had picked them. Not a terrible schedule.
That's never a good sign when you start with a big, deep sigh.
Well, I think I have a lot going on here. Not a terrible schedule. Thanksgiving at the Cowboys, which Cowboys haven't played well on Thanksgiving in what seems like years. But
they're the Giants.
They don't play division teams very often there. Weeks 5 and 6. Weeks 5 and 6. Green Bay and Baltimore. That's if Baltimore. I keep on Baltimore on this list, thinking they're going to go back to kind of a normal, but they're tough to prepare for either way.
For sure.
They added lineman. They added guard Max Garcia, which they needed big time. Running back Matt Breida to back up Saquon Barkley. I've been saying this for years now. They should put Barkley in the slot and let someone else play running back because Barkley needs space, and if you have a bad offensive line, you're not getting space back there.
That might be a good idea, but it'll never happen on this team.
Correct. Agreed.
Because they drafted him so high as a running back.
They drafted they signed tight end Ricky Seals-Jones. I don't know what he's going to give you at tight end. Decent draft. I thought 2 picks in the top 10, as I mentioned before. Pass rusher Kayvon Thibodeau. I hope this guy likes football. There's question marks about that. I think he's a little bit of a Hollywood rah-rah guy. But listen, playing with Wink Martindale as a defense coordinator, he'll get him to play. No doubt about that, I don't think. They drafted another tackle, Evan Neal, to go play the right tackle, to play with, I think his name is Thomas on the left side.
Yeah.
And then Wan'Dale Robinson, slot receiver from Kentucky. I don't know why. 2 years ago, they drafted Kadarius Toney in the first round when they had so many other needs.
Is he still on the team?
He's still on the team.
He is.
They never got rid of him.
I thought, yeah, I know there was a lot. We talked about that there was a lot of trade talk, or they wanted to trade him, or they were putting feelers out there. Who knows what's going on there? That's odd.
Very odd. They still have Kenny Galladay. They're paying a lot of money to. Sterling Shepard, I think, is a tremendous player. He's another guy that's never healthy. Darius Slayton started well, but he's faded off. I think that's why they keep drafting wide receivers, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, it's on Daniel Jones. I'm a big Daboll guy. Brian Daboll, new coach from the Bills, offensive coordinator. I think he's going to be able to help Jones, but I think there's just so many holes here still, man. You might see improvement, but you're not going to see anything like they're not doing the Niners from years ago with the first pick to the fucking Super Bowl. That's not happening.
No.
But I think in that division, I think you could really and like year one of Joe Judge, improve as the year goes on. Show some fucking toughness.
Yeah.
Beat the Cowboys on Thanksgiving. Upset the Redskins, the Commanders, or whatever. Like, do something you're not supposed to do, and you get people talking about it.
Yeah, I think the story of the Giants is question marks. Like, there are so many question marks. And listen, question marks can go either way. Question mark, is Brian Daboll going to be a good head coach? Question mark, is Jones going to be a decent quarterback? Question mark, you have the second most expensive wide receiver room in the entire NFL. Are any of them going to catch any touchdowns? Like, question mark, can you guys play defense at all? But those are question marks. Those aren't definite no's. Daniel Jones is the closest thing there to a definite no. And I don't know that it's a definite no because we have seen him play well.
Yep.
And with a Brian Daboll, your hope as a Giants fan is that he brings that how did you build Josh Allen experience over here with Daniel Jones. And if not, then you're hoping he does that with whoever ends up being next. But the reality is there are just a lot of question marks. You raised so many of them, and they are real question marks. And, unfortunately, when there's that many, some of those question marks are going to be answered in the negative. Like, they're not all going to be answered in the positive. Some of them are going to be answered in the negative. And then it's like, what do you do there? And it's especially scary if it is Daniel Jones is the no, because, the reality is, while everybody does have a quarterback, not everybody has a good one, and they are difficult to find. Like, it's just not as simple as, you pick one up in the draft next year. Well, lots of teams think that, but doing it and getting it and nailing it is a whole nother thing.
And one thing for the Giants, they could not whiff on another draft. They had 2 picks in the top 10. I think they, again, like I said with the Jets, they went in the right direction. They went both sides of the football. They went both sides of the line, at least. And Avino does not play left tackle. Plays right tackle. Just do your job, dude. Keep someone off Jones's ass and block and run block for Barkley. Don't hold and don't do stupid shit. And Kayvon Thibodeau, he's a freak. Just play football, man.
Yeah,
just be aggressive, play football and hustle. And dude, when you hustle, plays run into you. It's the football gods shining on you, man. Like, just play that way. Like, that's.
Yeah.
So what do you have the division finishing up at here, Coach?
Yeah, like you said, I think this is probably the weakest division just from top to bottom. I mean, I know there's a couple teams that are okay, but just from top to bottom, I think this is a pretty weak division. I do still think the Cowboys will, I don't know, with 10 or 11 wins, win the division. And that really is more because I think, other than the Eagles, I think the rest of the division is not great. And they don't have the toughest schedule in the world outside of it. So I still have the Cowboys finishing first, but I'm very fascinated to see if Dak Prescott is the kind of guy that can carry a team, that can actually carry a team week in, week out with less talent there. They're just not overloaded. And can Zeke Elliott become, something of what he used to be? We shall see. Second, I have the Eagles. I think they're just going to come up just short. It wouldn't totally surprise me if they won the division. I will say that it wouldn't totally surprise me because I think Dallas is worse than they were last year. Mm-hmm. And I don't think they were great last year, but they were clearly better than everybody else in the division.
Yeah.
I think they took a step back. I think the Eagles took a step up. They couldn't beat the Cowboys last year. I think it's possible. I think it's a real possibility that they win the division, but at the worst, I think they're the second best team in the division. And then I have the Washington former Redskins. I just, who do you trust? What do you trust? What's going to work? You got Ron Rivera, who's a very conservative coach as it is, and now you got Carson Wentz, who's just a wild ass hair sometimes on the field. And how much of that can get under control, number one, and if it doesn't get under control, how much of it will Ron Rivera take? I mean, you got to remember this is a guy who's dealt with Cam Newton, and I don't know that he wants to kind of go through all that shit again. But he's your guy right now. He's going to be your guy.
Did he play with Jim McMahon too?
Ooh, you know what? He probably played with him.
Yeah,
they won a Super Bowl, so you'll tolerate a lot more when you're winning.
That's true.
Yeah. So I have Washington in third, and then I have the G-Men in fourth. And for me, if you're a Giants fan, what you're looking for is what I had been looking for with the Jets last year. I knew it was going to be a bad season, but what I wanted to see, and you kind of alluded to this a little earlier, what I wanted to see last year from the Jets was improvement. I want to see a different team week 1 than I see week 17. I want to see a team at the end of the season that maybe teams are a little more weary of playing. Like in the beginning of the year, the Giants are a team that everybody would play on homecoming day. You know what I mean? By the end of the year, you want to look like a team that people might not want to play. They don't want to get upset by the Giants. Even though it would still be an upset, we don't want to get upset because it's more likely. And I think as a Giants fan, 5 wins, something in that range, you should be okay with. But it's how those 5 wins go down. If it's 3 of those wins are in the last 5 weeks of the season, you gotta be pretty happy with that. Okay, that means there's improvement. That means Brian Daboll has won over the locker room. That means some of the younger guys and some of the guys they brought in have panned out. So I think that's what you're looking for. Giants are a ways away. The Giants are a ways away. And that's if Daniel Jones is actually capable of being their quarterback. And I don't know that he isn't. If he isn't, it's going to be tough. It's going to be a tough run for a while.
We have some difference of opinion there, my friend. I have I know you said Philly. You wouldn't be shocked if Philly won the division. I got Philly one. I kind of exactly what you said. I think Dallas is not as talented as they were last year.
For sure.
There's
no doubt.
And I think one thing that we're overlooking here is if the Cowboys get off to a slow start, there's going to be a lot of Sean Payton going around that Dallas building, my friend.
Yeah. Well, now, while they won't say it right now, McCarthy is clearly on a warm, I don't know, like a hot plate as opposed to a hot seat. Like there's definitely talk. And I don't know that I don't think it's necessarily coming from the building.
No, it's coming from guys like us.
TV personalities, and very important personalities on podcasts like us, mainly us, don't have much faith in him. So, and like you said, that Sean Payton name is just floating out there the time. It's like, son of a bitch.
And with that being said, I do have Dallas finishing second. I do think they still have enough talent to be still possibly a playoff team. I just think the Eagles have a little bit more, maybe more to prove.
A little more juice.
Jalen Hurts, at least, for sure. Zeke Elliott's getting a little long in the tooth now. Tony Pollard's up his ass. He's a better player. It's so obvious when they play. Yep. Zeke started out the year hot. Like right into October, he'll be good. Then he gets banged up, and then he looks brutal trying to get to the hole at some point. At some points in the games, I got the Giants actually finishing third. I like Daboll that much, and I like again Jones and Barkley being healthy for this team. Kind of like McCaffrey and Sam were last year with the Panthers. They got off to a pretty good start. Stay healthy. Get those receivers that you pay all those money to the ball in the end zone for once. That'll be a nice change of pace.
Galladay had no touchdowns last year.
That's crazy.
That's nuts.
And I think
like $17 million.
And I think this is more of them finishing third because I hate Carson Wentz. I put a lot of stuff on him last year, and the way they lost.
I think we both did.
The way they lost the Colts, a playoff spot, was so goddamn frustrating to me. Like they went into Jacksonville like 20-point favorites and lost the fucking game.
Embarrassing.
With your season on the line
against a team that was in disarray with the whole Urban Meyer shit. And I mean that was a mail-in game that they should have won by 30 and they lost it outright.
And if you give every Colt that's still on that team truth serum about Carson Wentz, it probably won't be pretty.
All glad to see him gone.
So with that being said, I don't think the Commanders have much talent around them. McLaurin's a nice player.
He
We
is.
just talked about Dotson. Their running game's okay, but again, it all starts with Carson Wentz. I don't think that's a good start. So
Hard to put any faith in him, for sure.
I got Philly, Dallas, Giants, and Commanders.
Nice. You asked an interesting question, and it caused me to think about this a little bit. You asked which division. This is so interesting because you got to look at the division as a whole here. Which division has the best coaches? And I came up with two. So I'm going to give you my second one first. Okay, and I said it was the NFC West was the second best division of coaches. So you got Kingsbury, Shanahan, McVay, and Pete Carroll. And, you know, the one weak link there is Kingsbury. But they did make the playoffs last year. They've gotten at least like a little bit better each year. You know, they did just sign Kyler Murray to his extension. You know, I have my opinion on Kyler Murray. I think he's good, not great. I don't know that he's ever going to win a championship, but there's something about him that's just off-putting, but whatever. Shanahan oftentimes works magic, but now, you know, they're putting Garoppolo on ice, so we'll see. McVay obviously coming off a Super Bowl win. Every new head coach seems to be coming from his, you know, coaching tree, so that seems to be the hot thing to do, and that's always a good sign. That means people like you. And then obviously Pete Carroll, while aging a little bit, he's a young 70-something years old. He still goes out there and chucks the ball all over the place, runs around. Are his best days behind him? I don't know, probably. They didn't make the playoffs last year with Russell Wilson. Now without him, they're almost definitely not going to make the playoffs. But so is he washed up? I don't know, but the pedigree is certainly there. He has things behind him, national championship, Super Bowl, back-to-back Super Bowl appearances, so it's there. So I have them as the second best. Who did you have?
You want to give me your first one?
Okay, I will. I looked and I said I think the AFC North has the best coaching group in the entire NFL from top to bottom. Not that these are the best coaches in the NFL. I just think when you look team to team to team, it's like, damn, they're all good. Stefanski, Tomlin, Taylor, who just went to the Super Bowl last year, and Harbaugh. These are all. Stefanski was the coach of the year 2 years ago. Was it 2 years ago? Not this past season. The season before. Obviously, Tomlin has a Super Bowl win and has never had a losing season. Zach Taylor just went to the Super Bowl this past season, and Harbaugh has a Super Bowl championship under his belt. He's a great coach, you know, great organization. So I just look at that and I'm like, who's the worst of them right now? Like, who's a bad coach? You know, who's the worst coach? And you're like, shit, I would take any of those guys right now. If you were like a Jets fan, and I like Robert Saleh, but there's not a guy on that list that I probably wouldn't take over Robert Saleh right now. I'm just being honest. I think they're all proven commodities. They have all shown that they know how to win in the NFL.
I have the same exact order. I had the AFC North first, and I had the NFC West second. I think everything you said is right. Even though Pete Carroll's old, he's been to what? 2 Super Bowls. He's won 1. He should have 2.
Yeah. It's been a little while since they've been good, and I don't know if that's Pete Carroll or if that's the draft and trades, and it's probably a little bit of both, if we're being honest. But
he was in the playoffs a couple years ago too. Niners with Shanahan's rocking and rolling. The Rams obviously coming off Super Bowl. Kingsbury's been to the Super Bowl, although his seat might be getting a little warm now that they paid Kyler Murray as well.
Yeah.
And the North speaks for itself. Tomlin and Harbaugh are unbelievable. They just have a great organization, great program going there. Taylor went to Super Bowl with a lot of young talent, cheap talent right now. Enjoy that while you can.
Yep.
And Stefanski, we'll see. He's got a lot of curveballs thrown at him now. Dodging him left and right here.
Is his starting quarterback. It might be a little different now.
Well, we'll see how many carries that Hunt and Chubb get to avoid that nightmare. But
heavy load.
I think those. And listen, there's a couple divisions that are up and coming. You know, you never know.
Absolutely.
AFC West with Andy Reid obviously is great, and Hackett's got a lot of talent, but first year coaching. McDaniel's getting a second shot here with the Raiders with a lot of talent.
Yeah, this is why I look. We've kind of said that the AFC West is the best division, talent-wise, team-wise in the NFL. But if you look, there's 2 brand new head coaches that the reality is we don't know. How good they're going to be, right? And then one of them, like with the Chargers, we like them. Staley, but we had a lot of questions last year about decision making that went on whether they're analytically sound or not. We had major questions, and it probably cost them a trip to the playoffs last year. So much so that he definitely changed a little bit as the season wound down. So, it's just, to me, like, I look at those names and I'm like, boy, who wouldn't you want? Right? Like, I mean, think about most teams in the NFL, even the Giants right now. You have Daboll, right? And you got to be happy that you got Daboll. But you look at that list and you're like, every single one of those guys is a known commodity. Like, you have a known winner. Would you make the switch to say, like, yeah, I'll take Tomlin over Daboll? I probably would. You know what I'm saying? Would I take Harbaugh over Daboll? Yeah, I probably would.
Yeah.
Now, maybe the younger guys, I don't know, but, Zach Taylor just went to the fucking Super Bowl, man.
I know.
So, like, really? You sure? You sure you wouldn't take him? He's a big part of why Joe Burrow is Joe Burrow. So, it's a great division.
Was Zach Taylor was Rams as well? Rams OC?
I think he was.
Jesus Christ.
I think he was. And listen, 2 years ago, they were about to fire him. He was on a hot seat. I think even coming into this past season, he was a little bit on the hot seat.
Yeah.
And now he's a Super Bowl. Like, this is why people don't know what the fuck they're talking about most of the time. I thought that was ridiculous. I'm like, why on earth would he be on the hot seat?
Like kind of like the guys that wanted the Bucks coach fired, as he's winning the championship.
Yeah.
Those kind of guys.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Like, so stupid. So,
let's keep it in the NFL. Let's keep it in the NFL here.
Yes.
I had also asked you to give me some teams that you think will make the playoffs that didn't last year, and teams that made it last year that will miss it this year. And obviously, there's probably teams you could swap 1 for 1 or 2 for 2. How many you got? I don't know.
I got 3 of each. I got 3 teams that I think will make the playoffs that missed last year, and then I got 3 teams that'll miss that made it last year. So I'll start off with the makes. I'll give you the makes first. These teams missed the playoffs last year, but I think they're going to make it this year. I think one of the easiest ones, one of the most obvious ones, is Baltimore. They're a perennial playoff team. I have said on multiple occasions, while I don't think Lamar Jackson is a Super Bowl winning quarterback, I don't think they're ever going to win less than 10 games. And pretty much if you win 10, 11 games in this NFL right now, you're a playoff team. So assuming that we get a healthy Lamar Jackson, I think Baltimore will make the playoffs this year. I think also it helps that the Steelers probably take a step back. The Browns might take a step back, although they weren't a playoff team last year. But, I just think those things help that case, at least in their own division. I have the Chargers making the playoffs. Listen, I just mentioned how there are things about Staley that I question. But listen, you have what most people think is a top 5 quarterback. Justin Herbert. I think so. I certainly would take him over most guys in this league. And I recognize that this is a very tough division, but somebody's got to win, right? Somebody's got to win the division and somebody has to make the playoffs. And I can't see why there can't be at least 2 teams making the playoffs from this division. And it just seems like the natural progression that they were okay when he was a rookie. And they were pretty good last year. Probably should have made the playoffs.
Well, if they didn't screw around in the fucking end of that game, they both would have made
multiple games going for it on 4th down on your own 20-yard line so many goddamn times, which is some of the questions that we had. And listen, there were some games where Justin Herbert didn't ball out, didn't play great. But that happens sometimes. I just think it's the next natural step. Now, what I will also tell you is if they don't make the playoffs this year, I think Staley becomes someone who's on the hot seat. Because you can't tell me you have one of the best receiving crews in the NFL. You have one of the best quarterbacks clearly in the NFL. And you miss the playoffs again? I don't want to hear about your division. They cannot miss the playoffs this year. And if they do, Staley's on a hot seat. If he doesn't get fired. I wouldn't be surprised if he got fired if they missed. And we'll talk about that one if and when that ever happens. But I think they'll make the playoffs this year. I think Justin Herbert takes another step forward. He's got beautiful, beautiful wide receivers. They improved their offensive line. They have some really nice players on defense. Hopefully they can stay healthy. So I think they're a playoff team. And finally, I have the Vikings. I have the Vikings making the playoffs. Listen, I think maybe Green Bay takes a little step back. I still think Green Bay is a playoff team, but I think maybe they're not as great. I think the Chicago Bears stink, and I think Justin Fields stinks. And while I'm excited about Detroit Lions, I don't think they're there quite yet. And if you look at last season, I thought there was a handful of games that the Vikings should have won, and you were often saying, They're every other week. Like 1 week, it doesn't even matter who they're playing. It was just like this week they win, next week they lose. Next week they win, next week they lose. And it was like, lose to the Cowboys without Dak Prescott, but then beat like the Green Bay Packers with, Aaron Rodgers. It was a very weird team. I think they were close enough. I think a new head coach and some new excitement there. I think they make the playoffs.
For me, I got 4.
Oh.
One, I got my Denver Broncos. I think
of course you do.
I have to. I mean, fuck your Chargers. Russell Wilson coming in. This is why you went and got him, right?
Of
you
course.
got a new coach. Energy's in the building. Wide receivers aplenty. Good offensive line. 2 very good running backs. Defense is always pretty good in Denver. They got. I don't know how to pronounce his name. It's very difficult. I'm not even going to try it. They got him from the Rams. He was a defensive coach for the Rams. Younger guy, knows how to run a defense with those Rams guys. We don't have Aaron Donald. Nobody does, but we have a very good secondary, good defensive line. Randy Gregory will help with that. If Bradley Chubb stays healthy, the 2 of those guys on the outside will be a pain in the ass, and they need that in that division.
They are loaded, and one thing that we have said for 2 years now is that this team is one player away.
Yep.
And that, unfortunately, that position was quarterback because they're fucking hard to get. Okay.
Yep.
But they went out and did it. And you're absolutely right that they should make the playoffs. I want to ask you, does that mean you think the Chargers don't?
The Chargers do not.
And so then do you think Staley is
Can I play my game and I'll play your fucking game later? What are we doing it?
Sorry. Sorry.
I
go get some tissues.
I also have the Minnesota Vikings. I think getting rid of Zimmer, it was just stale there. Very stale all the way around.
I agree. Sometimes I think he's a good coach, but sometimes it's just time to go.
Yeah. Sometimes you just outstay your welcome, or it ends. Some things, good things come to an end. It is what it is.
Indeed.
If Kirk Cousins, I'm not touching that one. Kirk Cousins, Kirk Cousins plays again like he played last year, and Dalvin Cook stays healthy. Jefferson's one of the best receivers in the league.
Absolutely.
Thielen's still very soft for number 2, no doubt about it. Offensive line's pretty good. In that division, like we said, stinks beside the Packers.
The bottom half is bad.
Yeah,
the bottom half is
going to
bad.
give you. I still think Packers will be good, but not excellent.
Yeah, even if it's one less game, that helps them. That helps the Vikings.
Yes,
so.
especially if you beat them.
Yes.
I got the Indianapolis Colts. I think they were.
That's cool.
I think they were very close last year, and we just hit on our buddy Carson Wentz fucking them in the ass without lube and without invitation.
Sawdust.
I think they've gotten better. More defensive guys, very good defense. Division's brutal. Texans are bad. Jaguars are going to be improved, but still bad.
Yep.
I think Titans take a step back, but we'll get into that next week or the week after.
Perhaps.
And I got a surprise before you hear that I touched on earlier. I got the Miami Dolphins.
Okay.
I think the more and more that I think about this new coach, and I think he's going to do a lot of stuff to piss defenses off. Now you have Tyreek Hill and Waddle.
He's coming from San Francisco, am I correct?
Yep. And our boy Deebo Samuel last year was doing a lot of crazy stuff. I think now you have 2 guys that could do that stuff to make sure no one gets killed. They got 2 or 3 running backs now that they're going to – I think one of them from the Niners, Mostert, is going to be there in the backfield.
People forget about Waddle, just because they picked up Tyreek Hill.
Oh.
Don't sleep on Waddle. He's tremendous. I mean, he's tremendous.
And I think Gesicki's a pretty good tight end, probably top 12, top 15 tight end in the league, which is enormous.
Oh, I think definitely.
Also for a guy that knows how to use tight ends with Kittle.
Yeah.
Hello. Defense is interesting. They got the shutdown corner, Xavier Howard, very good player. They got a pretty good linebacker. I can't think of his name at the moment, but I think they take a step up. And I'll give you my teams that they replace them quick, and then you can go to yours.
I'll just say that I wanted to say that I'm not there with Miami simply because it's a rookie head coach and I don't trust Tua, and those two that combination, I'm just not there. I'm just not there.
Understood. And again, I think
you make a good case for it for sure.
I think they're going to put Tua in good situations. I do. And like you said earlier, if they don't, I think it might be time for a change.
Sure.
My teams that they replace, I have the Patriots missing the playoffs. I think the Dolphins kind of replaced them in that division there. We talked about it earlier. I'm a big Mike Tomlin guy. I think there's a lot of things with Pittsburgh that are just different. Just replacing a guy that's been there 20 years and they're always going to be in games. They're not going to give up a ton of points. And again, tough division. I think they kind of just fall out of it. They should have made the playoffs last year. That stupid Charger Raider game got them in it. I think the Raiders missed the playoffs as well. I like their rosters. I don't like Josh McDaniels at all. That's maybe a little personal thing for me, but it is what it is. And I got the Cardinals missing it in the NFC. I think the Vikings replaced them. I think the NFC's kind of on paper now very kind of top heavy.
Very.
But I think the Cardinals. I think Murray's a little weasel, and what's his face Kingsbury's 2 years in a row now. They've fallen apart in the back half of the year. And I think the opposite for Minnesota. I think Minnesota's going to have a good back half, and I think Arizona doesn't. So I think they slide in there.
Weasel's a good word. There's something about Kyler Murray right now that's just
off.
Yeah, it's he's becoming unlikable. Where we kind of liked him, he had like this
I'm gonna send you some. Watch this later on when you can.
Okay, he kind of had this like swagger for a short guy. Kind of didn't give a shit that he was smaller, but did his thing. And now he's more arrogant, right? There's this fine line between cocky and confident and then arrogant. And I feel like he's crossed over. And you can be that if you're Aaron Rodgers and winning all the time. But I don't know that he's there to be like that yet. And it's certainly not about the money. So that's an interesting spot right there. That's a tough one. I have no opinion on the, what would that be? The AFC West, because I really genuinely don't know how that division is going to play out because like you have 4 good quarterbacks. You have 4 pretty good rosters. Like all those teams have done a good job, of either reloading or loading up, making a move for Russell Wilson, making a move for Devontae Adams. Like, man, that's a hell of a fucking division, man. And it's hard to make a prediction. I think
I'm drooling here.
You're right. First day with the new mouth.
Yeah, my chin just.
So that's I give you some credit for having the balls to put any of those teams in the make or break. But yeah, I think the Chargers should make the playoffs. But who's going to miss the playoffs in that division? I have no idea.
Yeah,
I genuinely have no idea. I can make a case easily as much for the Raiders as I could for the Chiefs. I genuinely could because the rest of the division is so good. It's not that the Chiefs would be bad. It's just that the rest of the division is so good. So I also have Pittsburgh missing the playoffs this year. You're right. They shouldn't have made it last year. And they're only worse as bad as they were at quarterback with Ben last year. They're only worse this year. And I think also that the Mike Tomlin never have a losing season streak comes to an end as well. I got a feeling they're gonna struggle this year. I also have the Patriots not making the playoffs. I don't really think they were like the Eagles last year. They made the playoffs, but I never thought of them as an actual playoff team.
Yeah.
And what we talked about earlier when we broke down the AFC East, I think they're the least talented team in the division. And I think they had the third or fourth best quarterback. And I don't think they have great weapons. I think they miss the playoffs. I really do. And I think the Jets end up ahead of them in the standings. I don't think they're going to be like a 3-win team, but I don't think they're going to be good. And my last team is San Francisco 49ers. I think they're going to miss the playoffs. They have now officially made the commitment to Trey Lance. And now there are reports out of San Francisco camp that people are not liking what they're seeing. There are some serious accuracy issues going on where one play he makes great throw. He clearly has a strong arm and he's super athletic, but one play he makes a good throw and then the next throw he kind of like throws in the dirt. There's like some Cam Newton stuff going on there, like more often like the short out ball that's just like ended up in the dirt. You're like, what the hell? How's that going on? And Shanahan doesn't go for that kind of shit, man. Like that's one thing, like you can't do that. This was a bigger knock on Garoppolo coming from Shanahan than the injuries were, right? Like everybody looked at the injuries with Garoppolo and was like, you can't sustain this. You can't constantly have a guy who's missing 4 to 10 games every year be your starting quarterback. But for Shanahan, it was more about the inaccuracy, the wildness on some of the throws that he couldn't tolerate. And now you're seeing that with Trey Lance, and it's like, well, what the hell? And they're kind of stuck between a rock and a hard place here because they traded all those picks and all that kind of capital to move up in the draft to take Trey Lance 2 years ago. And now you're kind of like, a lot of people are like, I don't know if this is the guy. We talked about this before that draft. We said this guy hasn't played in over a year. And even when he did, he was throwing 18, 19 passes a game because North Dakota State was a run-heavy team. Like, we talked about this. We kind of liked the kid. We kind of liked what we saw, but we didn't think he was a third pick in the draft. Neither one of us did. I don't
trade up. That's also trade
move
up
and get him. And that's why they're kind of stuck, because now you've hitched your train.
Yeah.
You know, you've hitched your train to this guy, and if he's not the guy, you're gone. Unless you can make some magical move somewhere down the road. So, and I don't think he's the guy. And in a division where you have the Super Bowl champion Rams and the up and coming Cardinals, I think San Fran gets left behind there.
I understand that point. I thought about that as well.
I think they get left
But,
behind.
you know, if you don't trade Jimmy G or cut him, you could kind of bail you out at some point down the road.
Well, isn't it interesting that they couldn't find a suitor to make that trade with, but yet there's one team in the NFL that's probably glad that they didn't make that trade, and it might very well be the San Francisco 49ers, because if they start to, I don't know what we'd have to take a look at their schedule and how their season starts, but if they start off 1-4, 1-5, don't be surprised.
See you, Trey.
If they make the move. Yeah, don't be surprised if they make the move. All right, that wraps up a heavy NFL today, and we will certainly be heavy NFL moving forward because the season's coming, and it's the best time of the year, right? It's like the lead up to Christmas. That's where we're at right now. Like, we just passed Thanksgiving, and now it's all nothing but Christmas. We put the decorations up, we get everything ready for Christmas, which this for us starts in September. So, let's talk about some golf. We were off last week, so we didn't get to talk about the formerly known as British Open. It's quite eventful. It was at St. Andrews, right?
I tell you what, but yeah, the old course, as they say. Cam Smith, an unbelievable Sunday to come back and win it. Rory started the day with the lead, and I got to be honest, he didn't lose it. He didn't choke away nothing, but he just didn't hit. The putter was a little weak. I think he two-putted every hole.
Yep.
Where Saturday was making those putts, Sunday they weren't falling, and Cam Smith was. Cam Smith was the group ahead of him with Victor Hovland, who I think he's going to be good for a long time too, that kid.
Yes.
Cam Young playing with Cam Smith in that group, group. Hits it a ton. He was giving him a run for his money too, but he missed a couple of holes. I think he double bogeyed one hole down the end that killed him. I think like 13 or 14. And dude, that course is just something else. It's just we talked about it 2 weeks ago. It's something else.
Yeah, it's fascinating. You know, it's funny. Like, if you're hitting the ball well, it's a very
scoreable course.
Very scoreable. I don't want to say easy because that's disrespectful, but it's scoreable. But if you don't, it's
a long afternoon.
Penal. you get penalized big time, and that happened a couple times. We saw. I forget who it was, but somebody got into one of those pop bunkers. And had to hit out sideways because it was too far. And you got no shot.
You got
can't do it. And I think at that point, it might have been Cam Young, or it might have been somebody else that was there. And they were like, that's it. Just like that, the tournament's over. You know, you were 2 strokes behind or 1 stroke behind, and this is the last hole, and that's it. Like, you just can't unless you hold this next shot. So, you know, I'm gonna pat us on the back once again. If you remember back to the Masters, we both were talking about after the Masters the demeanor that Cam Smith had after that tournament. There was less disappointment in his voice and more kind of determination. You remember when we were talking about that?
I do.
I said, watch this guy, because there's something about that.
Because he won the Players, didn't he? A couple weeks earlier?
Yeah. But there was something about the look in his eye and the way he was answering questions. This wasn't a guy, I'm sure he was disappointed, but what came forward way more was this determination, because he was like, nah, I'm just going to tell you, I'm going to win this tournament. And I was like, wow, that's one thing to say it a day or two later. This was like 5 minutes after getting off the course, this level of determination. And we both were like, watch this dude. We already knew he had talent. He had finished top 5 in the Masters before. We had actually used him as an example of someone who could win the tournament, and we were looking great and he fell just short. But we had said, watch this guy, because there's something about him. There's that hunger there. There's that drive that's just different. And we were proven right once again. And his round was fascinating. It wasn't some beginning to end win. He had a great day on Friday and then a shit day on Saturday and then another great day on Sunday. Obviously, his back nine scorecard was fucking bananas.
Yeah.
Really from the 8th hole on, he just went off.
Yeah, because what did he birdie? 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 or something like that?
I think he from 8 through the end, I think he only had 2 pars. Everything else was a birdie.
Wow.
So he just took off. And
listen, we'll see where we go now with all the majors are done. Golf's kind of winding down in our eyes now that football's starting up, and I think that's
You'll get FedEx Cup coming up now, right?
That's why they play the PGA in May now too, because they used to do it in September and no one's watching it because of the football.
Super smart. Yep, super
so
smart.
Now we kind of wind down. Now we'll probably play a couple more rounds of golf as personally, but then watching it for me is kind of.
Well, I will watch the FedEx Cup stuff, but yeah, I mean, it was smart for them to move the season up to get away from the NFL because you know what is fascinating. I used to switch over from games, especially because the Jets suck. I would switch over and watch the FedEx Cup, and I'd be like, "What am I doing? I can't." But I want to, but I can't because I got to watch the NFL. Like you know,
once you record it.
Yeah. Do you ever really do that?
Yeah, because sometimes I'll have a scotch late at night and I'll throw it on.
I can't do it. I need to watch it live. If I know of a sporting event is on live, I got to watch it live. I just have to. It's just not the same. And golf is not the kind of thing that I watch so intently. Golf to me is very similar to baseball for me. Like I like having it on in the background and I will watch passively. I don't necessarily watch actively. Whereas football, I'm almost like fucking taking notes. You know, like especially with what we do here and just in general, like I'm taking all kinds of notes mostly. So it's just different. I did have some LIV questions for you. Well, really one question. All right, I'll give it to you. I don't know. It's a comment and a question. How about that? So we're starting to get some personalities being attracted to LIV, right? So what we were looking at is like, is this a good enough product? Should they even be competing? And when I say we, I mean media was looking at it as a finished product. Like, somebody had said, maybe Mike Dean from Dean Dome Sports had said, like, I don't necessarily want to watch a bunch of old washed up guys that are near the end of their career. I don't know that Dustin Johnson is washed up, but there's, DeChambeau is not, but I understand what he's saying. Brooks Koepka not washed up, but I understand what he's saying, right? But we were looking at that as if it was a finished product. And I never thought of it as a finished product anyway. And here's what I mean. They have attracted Faraday, right? So now they signed him to a contract. I don't know how long, don't know how much, but David Faraday now is with the LIV. They signed someone else. I can't remember who the heck it was. It was one of the guys that he's kind of like a swing coach. He was often on CBS, but now I don't think he's with them anymore. So
Butch Harmon?
No. Shit. He would be on the CBS or NBC broadcast and he would break down people's swings.
Was it not Roger Maltby? What the hell's his name? I know you're talking about. Shit.
And I'm pretty sure
he was in Tin Cup.
Yes. I can't remember his name.
Yeah, I know you're talking about.
A Roger Maltby kind of guy. I don't know if it was him, but it was that kind of guy. Yeah. I think they signed him too. And now they're trying to like work something out with Charles Barkley. Don't know if that's going to get done, but the fact that they're trying to is where my question is going. Do you think, besides the obvious, which is the players, do you think a Charles Barkley, a David Faraday, a Roger Maltby type guy who can come in and explain moves the needle at all on, the value that LIV might bring? Knowing that before those guys even say a word, you have a loaded list of talent.
Somebody's got to put them on TV, first of all, before even that's even a question.
Sure.
Does
that move the needle for you? How about for you? Does like a David Faraday being on the broadcast?
Faraday's one of my favorite.
I do too.
I love Faraday.
I think it matters. Listen, we both like watching and listening to say Jim Nantz and Nick Faldo.
The guy's name is fucking driving me nuts.
God. Yeah, just put who was signed by LIV recently. I like listening to Jim Nantz. I think he's perfect you know, that he's got that golf voice when it's golf. Now on Sundays with the NFL and him and Tony Romo, he's got a different kind of vibe about him. But I do like having a Jim Nantz kind of guy there. It does matter that he's
Peter Jacobson.
Peter Jacobson. I don't know if that's true.
No,
I don't know if that's who I was thinking about.
it's not Ken Venturi.
Nope.
Not Peter Costas.
I just don't remember now. Shit. I thought about it at the time. I'm like, it doesn't even really matter. And here's why. I'm bringing up Faraday and whoever we're talking about here and Barkley. And I'm just wondering if now the guys that are going to be behind the mic, the guys that are delivering the action as opposed to just the players playing, does that move the needle for you? And or
I got it.
Who is it?
Gary McCord.
Gary McCord. Because he's a personality. He's
Yep.
another personality. You know what I mean? And yes, he was on Tin Cup. Does that move the needle for you, number one? And number two, do you think it moves the needle for others?
So for me, it would. For me, it would get me to a TV earlier than later. I think, right?
Right.
But I also don't know how serious this is going to be. I don't like the 3-day tournament because look what we just saw Sunday at the Open. The Sunday won the whole tournament.
But is it Sunday or is it just it's the last day? I mean, I think what matters is this is the last day. This is your last chance to make a run at this title.
Yeah, but I think 72 holes makes a difference than 54.
Does it?
Holes. I think so.
The seniors play 72 holes.
No, they're 100.
The women play three rounds too.
No, women play 4, don't they?
They play 3. Friday, Saturday, Sunday.
And
on Sunday, if you've ever been to a women's tournament, they're exciting. It's the last day. It's the end of the tournament. It's the last day.
I think maybe because I don't want to put them down or the older fellas, but I think it's just because I'm so used to the 4 days with the men.
I agree.
With the PGA Tour. Again, I like Barkley too. But I like Barkley more in a DP interview, 15, 20 minutes. I like him more in that like celebrity golf thing where he's a goofball and he could kind of like
But let me
talk about smoking cigars and
let
drinking.
me throw a scenario out at you.
Go ahead.
What if Barkley was the interviewer as guys were coming off their last hole?
No, I don't like that. I think
you don't like that?
I don't think that's a good spot for him. No, I think I like him talking more.
I don't think he can be like an.
I don't think he's a good interviewer. I think he's a good interviewee. I don't think he's a good interviewer.
Yeah, I think no matter what, I think he's in bits and pieces. He's in spots. He's not gonna be.
So he's gonna be like he's gonna be Faraday. Is Faraday going?
I have no idea. Yeah, I have no idea. I'm just saying I can't imagine. He's just not knowledgeable in golf enough.
Has there been any discussions about like who's picking them up? Amazon Prime or Peacock or?
I don't know, but I would when there's that much money flowing around, somebody's gonna take it. I mean, Peacock is NBC, so they're not going to go for that.
Yeah, I'm at Paramount instead of Peacock. Paramount Plus or one of those streaming.
Somebody will, dude. And all.
Well, Barkley said today, right? Today he's going to make a decision. I think that was the rumor.
Is that what he said? I didn't know.
Yeah.
Hey, Netflix just lost 1 million subscribers. Maybe it'd be a good thing for them to pick it up. Have some live sports on there. That'd be interesting.
Yeah, that would be.
Why
a boost,
not?
For sure.
So
What do you think?
I think it does a little bit, man, because I think of who it is. I think personalities. I don't even know who the guys were that I watched for a few minutes. One of the first tournaments that they did. I watched for a few minutes, and I don't know who the hell was even talking. But like you, I like David Faraday. Like he's with that Scottish Irish accent thing going on, and he's funny.
He always makes fun of himself. Yeah,
I think it does move the needle a little bit. You know what I mean? I was fascinated by the fact that like McCord and Faraday got bounced from CBS in the first place, right? They went from CBS to NBC or something.
Yep.
Like that. I'm surprised that they got let go. No, I don't know if there was a money thing or whatever, but I think it does move the needle. I don't know how much Charles Barkley does, but I think him in small bursts might. I just don't think he can talk for 7 hours about golf. He's just not knowledgeable. But something with him, like sit downs, if he were to sit down with a Phil Mickelson, if he were to sit down with a Dustin Johnson, like in a cabin and they just, like you said, like they're just smoking cigars and talking shit.
Yeah.
I think that could be fun. I think, and whether or not I find that interesting, I could see people finding that interesting. I could see people liking that.
And when you have a lot of money, you can adjust as you go too.
For sure. And this is what I'm saying. Like this, there's more money than they know what to do with. They're swimming in cash, so they can do whatever they want, and they can have swings and misses too. They can sign a Barkley, work with him. It can suck, and they'd be like, "Hey, sorry, man, here's your money. Take care."
Yep.
They could not bat an eye.
I know.
You know, let's say he signs a $50 million deal for 2 years or 3 years, whatever the hell it is, and he sucks. They could be, yeah, just take the 50. Don't worry about it. You know, that's a nice position to be in. So I think it does move the needle a little bit. How much? I don't know. And like I said, I've said this from the beginning. Sooner or later, something will be worked out between the PGA and the LIV. It has to.
But did you see that they're already moving up on tournaments? They already added a couple more tournaments. So
they're going to have 14
all the guys that were saying, "Oh, it's not as many tournaments." Here we go.
I said that too. But even at 14 tournaments, there's still 45 PGA tournaments. And none of those 14 tournaments take place during majors. So, and again, have you seen Tiger Woods since the British Open? Did you see him before? No. Is that fair? You don't get to say the rules are for everybody except for Tiger. You know? So, even at 14 tournaments, that leaves 36 others that these guys could enter, not including majors. So that's really like 40. You know, there's still 40 other tournaments that they could enter. So it's, whatever. I think they'll have to work something out at something. But yeah, I do think that those kind of personalities,
right,
move the needle a little bit. I think it draws. Right. I agree with you 100%. Though it has to be on something. It has to be on a more available platform. You can't just have it like on your fucking phone on Facebook or on YouTube or whatever. It's got to be more than that, man. It's got to be more than that. Do we have our first? I mean, it's July 28th. Do we finally have our first Scotty Yankee rant?
No rant.
No rant. Oh,
there's no rant. There's concern.
All right. Let's see what this turns into. So what's going on with the Yankees, Scotty?
So the Yankees are 5-10 in the last 15.
Just got swept in a mini series by the Mets, right?
Good, yeah, and give the Mets credit. Playing good baseball. Buck's a hell of a manager, as we know that. Couple really unlikable guys on the Mets, though. Fucking Pete Alonso is a fucking asshole.
You don't like him?
I'm not a fan. He's just, when he's doing squats before the home run derby, you're just a tryhard to me, dude. You just shut the fuck up. But other than him, I like Scherzer a lot and DeGrom and I like Lindor. I have no problem with Lindor, and McNeil's a fucking guy that's drafted in the 100th round and made it to the All-Star. Guys like that you root for. Their starters are struggling. The Yankees have been, they had some great starting pitching up until probably a month ago. Severino goes down. Tyon's been a mess. Montgomery, for the most part, was having he had a 2 ERA, but his record stunk because they didn't score for him.
Yeah. Now
he's kind of just having bad first innings, and you got in the bullpen early. They lost Michael King for the year. Greg arm out of the bullpen. Fractured his elbow.
Ouchie.
Which is scary as he threw it. They were worried about Tommy John.
He fractured his elbow throwing?
Throwing a slider. He fractured his elbow.
Dude, what kind of torque has to go on when you're throwing a baseball that you break a fucking bone?
So the crazy thing about that is they don't think he needs Tommy John, but he's not out of the woods yet. They're going to reevaluate in 8 to 10 weeks. Wow, but if he doesn't, he'll just miss this year and he'll be ready for spring training, which would be fucking huge. So fingers crossed for that.
If he does have the surgery after 8 to 10 weeks, does that mean he misses all of next season?
We will be seeing him in 2024, my friend. Giancarlo Stanton now is
back on a DL.
Back on the DL, and this is where you always, we're going to give these guys days off because it's going to keep them injury free. Well, listen, they're big guys, man. They're gonna get banged up and hurt. So ride the hot streaks, play them. Do what you got to do. We've been saying that forever. That's why getting off to a big lead was huge, man. You're still 11.5 games up in the division, but thank God Boston stinks. The Rays, you never know. The Rays got on these hot streaks. The Blue Jays have a great lineup. They can get hot. So you can't lose. You don't want to go on an 8-9 game losing streak here.
No.
You want to kind of, the Royals come into town tonight. They're for a 4-gamer. Beat up. You got to take 3 out of 4 out of them, you would think. Get back on track. Hopefully Stanton's Achilles isn't brutal. Comes back in a week or two. Sevy's starting to throw a little bit now. Germán looked good last night against Scherzer, which is huge. He wasn't the issue last night. Just bad luck going against Scherzer. If we get that Germán going forward, we'll take it because you don't know what Taillon's going tonight. Maybe replace him and give him a week or two off to just settle back in, rest him up. Cole and Cortez, thank God, are really good. Montgomery has got to straighten some shit out, but they got some guys. They traded for before I go into that, they traded in the offseason for Josh Donaldson. Who I was a big Gio Urshela fan. Gio Urshela shits on Jonathan Donaldson. They play pretty much the same third base. And Gio was great hitting 8th or 9th in that lineup. There was no issues there. Donaldson hits 210. He's causing fights. He was supposed to be here for the attitude and a little chip on the shoulder, and it's not really working out that way.
No.
Torres is hot and cold. He hit a
Where
big
did
home run
Donaldson
last
come
night.
from?
Twins.
Okay.
But I think that all happened because they had to take Gary. They took Gary away from us, and that worked out. Trevino was an all-star catcher for us, so that obviously worked out. You don't hear any of the pitchers complain about catcher. It's a long year. Listen, the Astros just got swept by the A's. The Dodgers lost 2 out of 3 of the Nationals. I got it. And losing to the Mets is no embarrassment this year.
Let me ask you. I want to ask you a question. Going back on something you mentioned about Gary Sanchez.
Yeah.
I advocated. God, now how many years back? I advocated for a long time that I thought he should have been moved to first base. And I got a lot of pushback from a lot of people, from almost everybody. Nobody agreed with me on that one. Looking back, because then the reason to me was I thought he was a better hitter than we were seeing because he was playing catcher and he was banged up a lot. And I just thought if he was at first base, I thought the hitting numbers would go up. We'll never know. But looking back, do you think now that might have been a worthwhile thing to have considered a little more?
I don't think so because they really wanted to make the catching thing work. And then plus they had Luke Voigt that was hitting bombs at first base back then. So they couldn't move. And then you're standing.
I think I was even thinking about it even before Voigt got there.
Who was the first baseman before Voigt? Fucking Greg Bird.
Yeah, there was a couple.
That might have been an argument for that.
I think that was the time because they didn't have anybody like playing first base with any kind of consistency that was any good. And
they're bringing up that guy Mike Ford from Princeton.
He's a marginal. He's not a great catcher anyway.
No, he's a terrible catcher.
But he had shown in the past to be a great catcher. We're going totally off schedule here, but he had shown in the past to be a really great hitter. He had shown opposite field power, and early on as a Yankee, he actually hit for a decent average. And I'm like, Jesus, if you just move this kid to first base where he can just almost totally focus on hitting, I thought it would have been a good idea. Anyway, that's just a thought that I had. Because now he's not even on your team anymore. Like the whole thing you wanted to keep him as your catcher, and now he's not even there anymore. It's like, Jesus.
Yeah, and then, last night they made a trade for Royals outfielder and ex-Red Sox Andrew Benintendi.
Interesting statistic here. Interesting statistic. The Yankees, how do I word this properly? The Yankees, so he was an all-star this year, right?
Yes, sir.
That is the 8th, and it's a record. The Yankees have traded for the most, and it's been 8 times, for a guy who was an all-star that season. Like the idea being most of the time, if you got an all-star on your team, you don't trade him away.
Yeah.
But somehow the Yankees 8 times now, and that's more than any team in the rest of the league. 8 times they have traded for a guy who made the All-Star team that year.
That's nuts. That's
8
nutty.
times. Yeah, it is when you think about it. That's what I'm saying. Like usually you don't trade your All-Stars. Like usually you keep your All-Stars. So anyway, go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, that's about it.
What do you think about that trade?
I think it's good. I think it's the right kind of deal for them at this moment because they didn't give away anything more significant right now. That we don't know. I think they're 3 AA pitchers.
Yeah, 3 minor leaguers.
Because he's only what do you call it? Substitute, really, because he's only this year and he's done. So
okay, maybe they sign him.
Yeah, you don't know, but then that'll cost you money. So you're not going to give away the farm for a guy like Soto. He's got 2.5 years.
Correct.
So they need another starter for sure.
Do you believe they're totally out of the Soto?
No, I never believe the Yankees are out of anything. I believe it more now than when George was alive.
He wants a lot of dough, man. He turned down a lot of money.
But right now, you don't got to pay him really. You just got to give him the arbitration money at the end of the year and next year, and then you got 3 Octobers to win a World Series with him, and then after that, you could do what you got to do with him. But if you re-sign Judge, Yeah, the writing's on the wall pretty much.
Correct.
I don't think they need a Soto. I think they need consistency. I think they need to play these guys now a little bit. You got Carpenter there. You got your 5 infielders.
Is Judge a league MVP?
Right now, yeah. But Ohtani's coming up on him though.
Again.
The Trout thing's sad. We got into that next week if you want. I think they need another starter for sure, and I think they need 2 bullpen guys. And they always Cashman does a good job getting these relievers somewhere.
Yes.
So I'm not really worried about that. But there's more moves to be made for sure.
Last Yankee question for you: are the Yankees a World Series winner? Like, are they a team that should and could win the World Series?
They could definitely win it. Right now I wouldn't. Again, and not to panic, but there's just watching them every day or most of the time.
Yeah.
They're definitely not the same team. Again, I know it's dog days of summer. It's hot as shit.
For sure.
You're banged up. I get it. Everyone goes through it. Last night might be a good thing. A little wake-up call. You get beat up in the team across the street, and then, you make a move. Guys on notice a little bit.
Yep.
I like that. I don't have a problem with that. But, yeah, I think they're still on top of the league, yeah.
73 in the books, my man.
Nope, I got a 73 for you. Before we say goodbye, I got one name for you, and it could be because I'm in a good mood. It's football season. It's for my boy Pete Calisano here.
So giddy.
Number 73, 1981 Defensive Player of the Year.
Uh-oh.
2-time All-Pro.
Oh, my.
4-time Pro Bowler.
Oh.
1981 sack leader. Could be an argument for the Hall of Fame.
Talking about it.
Jets defensive lineman Joe Klecko.
Absolutely. Very nice. I like that one a lot. I got some news here for you. There was a guy who stole money. He robbed let me see what he robbed here. A donut company. So what he did was he ran in, he jimmied the lock and he ran in and he stole just petty cash. He worked open the case and pulled it out and stole the petty cash and left. And then he realized he left his keys behind. And he had to go back in and get his keys. And instead of grabbing his keys, he grabbed the keys to one of the donut trucks.
Oh, my God.
And he left his car behind. So this guy is on the run. Because
in a donut truck.
And well, he didn't even steal the donut truck. He didn't want Grand Theft Auto, you know what I mean? So, moral of the story, if you're going to rob somebody, once you break in, make sure your keys are in your pocket for the getaway car. Don't have the keys to the getaway car in your hand, because as you're grabbing stuff, you might put your keys down on a desk, on a filing cabinet. Somehow they might fall on the floor, and then you're trying to get away, and shit, next thing you know, now you're running instead of driving away. And it's a lot easier to catch a guy who's running than it is a guy who's driving. So if you're gonna rob a place, keys go in the pocket. The keys to the getaway car go in the pocket, not in your hand.
Pete, don't tell all our listeners to be robbing stores.
I would never do such a thing. But listen, if you're going to do it, we want you to do it right. Right? I don't advocate for these things, but if you're going to do it the right way. Don't mess up like that and just leave your keys behind. It's a dead giveaway to who you are, by the way. Dead giveaway. For Scott Bracey, I'm Pete Calisano. You've been listening to Bump and Run. We'll catch you guys next week.
Later.
Kerplunk. All right.
Excellent. We are
nice. That was good, right?
We are cooking with football now, my man.
Absolutely.
We are cooking.
Loving it. So we'll hit up 2 more divisions.
Yeah, we'll do the South
right?
next week. I was thinking we'll do the Souths, and then we'll work our way north, and then we'll go west if you want.
Sounds good.
All right, pal.
Absolutely. I'll have this up tonight.
My man.
Talk to you later.
Later, dude.